Welcome to another edition of 7th The Puckcast. This is Keith.
This is Chris.
And this is Keith. We'll hand it back over to Keith and
Yep.
start us off.
Thank you, Keith. We're going to talk about our first topic today, which is the NHL deciding not to be a part of the Olympics in 2018. What do you guys think about that?
The only thing I like about it is the league won't have that week and a half gap.
Yeah. And honestly, for me, the Olympics have just kind of gotten boring.
Like, even if it does, they do play. The times of the games are like 2 a.m.
I think they're like 13 hours ahead. So,
Yeah, we're not going to be able to watch them live.
I mean, unless you live in your parents' basement and you don't do anything,
Yeah.
you don't work, you're not going to be able to see the games. And also on top of it, I mean, even the past few years, I feel like the Olympics have kind of, especially at least for hockey, they've kind of lost their luster.
Yeah, the only thing I do feel bad for is the players that do want to play, do want to represent their country.
Yeah, and I totally understand wanting to represent your country.
But I think that's something that the NHL can work out with other countries, being like, hey, let's have this tournament in the off-season.
Yeah. The thing I have with the Olympics now is it's kind of similar to the All-Star game. They go there, there's no real checking, there's no real, there's no grit to the games. Everyone's worried about getting hurt before they go back to their teams. They don't really seem to try that hard. I'd rather see some amateurs go there and really try.
Like, you have those, they don't have an NHL contract, but they're great hockey players.
Yeah.
They want to make a name for themselves. They're all going to go out there
you could get
and play.
noticed. I mean, look at Matt Zuccarello on the Rangers. He got noticed through the Olympics, but no one knew who he really was. And that was, the Rangers saw him play, and they were like, oh, okay, this guy might actually, have a future in the NHL.
Yeah. I think that would be the best way to do it. Make it more amateur.
Yeah. I mean, it's more exciting that way because you don't really know who's going to be the better country.
Yeah.
You could look at it and be like, all right, it's going to be Canada, it's going to be Russia, it's going to be the United States. Denmark and whoever else is probably not, and Sweden could be up there too, but you're going to look and see, okay.
But then
Team Belarus, they're not going to make it.
But then at the same time, do the Swedish Elite Leagues and the KHL. They're all going to probably have players representing their countries.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably going to end up happening, but
At the same time, you have places like Russia not having Alexander Ovechkin.
Well, I mean, he said he's going no matter what, but
yeah, we'll see.
I know the Capitals owners usually a little more understanding for that. Other owners, I feel like they're gonna be like, all right, you're gonna leave, you're suspended.
But then at the same time, that would come and hurt them come the next free agency. Like, oh, if I want to go play in the Olympics in a few years, I'm gonna get suspended. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna sign here.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be drawbacks to both of those. Personally, I'm not all that brokenhearted about the NHL not going. I've seen a lot of people this is why Bettman's an idiot. Bettman is an idiot, don't get me wrong.
For many other reasons.
This one, I don't think really. I don't see much positives coming out of it, so.
Yep. All right, I think we'll just move right on to our main topics of the day.
All right, our other topics for today. We're going to talk about the playoff matchups that are going to be going on in the NHL. First matchup I see is the Capitals versus the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, Capitals won the President's Trophy, and you can't win a cup when you win a President's Trophy.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
I still think they'll make it past this round.
Yeah, first round. I mean, the Maple Leafs have surprised all year long. They're a good team, but they don't have the experience that a team like Washington has.
Yeah.
And I think the depth for Washington is just too nasty right now. I mean, the Maple Leafs, they might surprise and maybe win a game or two, but I think it's going to probably be maybe a 4-2.
There's a possibility of taking it to a Game 7.
Yeah, I think Game 6.
Okay.
For that. But also, we're basically going on this as of right now. There's still one or two matchups that could change. We're going on
right now.
Yeah. What are the matchups?
Because we pretty much know who the playoff teams are. It's just kind of who they'll end up finishing.
Yeah, there might be one or two that switch, but right now, looking at the matchups, this is the way it is.
Yep.
And I think that one might be set in stone.
Oh, yeah. I guess continuing down, Keith, who's our next one?
Yep. Next one we're going to look at is the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. Personal matchup I think is going to be great.
Okay, that's
I think this is one of the top matchups in the first round that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it's going to be the one everyone's going to want to watch.
It's going to be a nasty series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be some really big hits, some probably, pretty good fights. They're going to be some scrappy games.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. They split the season 2-2.
Yeah.
2 of the games went to overtime.
They're pretty evenly matched. Again, Penguins have more playoff experience here. But the way the Blue Jackets play,
they might have a little bit more fire on them.
They grind you down. They really, and I think even if Pittsburgh does move past this, I think the grind of this series
They'll be too tired.
is going to knock them out in the next round.
Yep.
You have a prediction as to who you think wins that series, Keith?
As bad as it sounds, I think Pittsburgh's still going to win it.
I think the same thing too. I think Pittsburgh will sneak through probably in about 7 games, but they'll be wounded. For the rest of the way.
Okay, moving on to the next one, Keith.
Yep. Next matchup is going to be the Montreal Canadiens versus the New York Rangers, and we all know who Kelly's going to pick.
Montreal Canadiens.
Probably.
The Rangers. They don't win Stanley Cup, so I mean, it doesn't really matter.
I mean, shut up. It's an interesting matchup because, I mean, I think the Rangers are a better team than the Canadiens. The Canadiens are where they are in the standings because they have a weaker division.
Yeah.
The Rangers fall to that first wild card, but look at the teams that are above them: the Capitals, Penguins, and Blue Jackets.
Montreal's
Montreal's competing with Ottawa. Not really the same caliber as any of the other teams. But that being said,
Montreal owns the regular season.
Montreal owns the Rangers. That is Lundqvist's House of Horrors playing in the Bell Center. They just always seem to struggle. And you look at Montreal, and I'm like, I don't really see, besides, Carey Price and Shea Weber, it's like, there's really not that much good going on in this team. But they win, and the Rangers have never had an answer to that. They did beat them a couple years ago in the playoffs. I think it was the 13-14 season, but that was when Chris Kreider took out Carey Price, and they had to play Dustin Tokarski. I think the Rangers might need to go that route again if they want to win this. But, all right, I'm biased. I'm going to say Rangers win the series.
I'm going to go Canadiens.
How many games? If you had to predict, how many games do you think?
I'm going 6 games.
I think I'm going to go 7. The Rangers don't let series go usually in less than 7. Whether they win or lose, it's going to 7.
How bad Henrik plays, and if their backup puts up numbers, Henrik will still start and give up 5 goals. I guess just move on.
Yep. Speaking of the Senators, their next matchup is the Senators versus the Boston Bruins.
This is the matchup I am least looking forward to because this matchup looks awful. I am so not excited for this round at this matchup at all.
It's going to still be an interesting one. I mean, Boston just clinched the other day. Marchand just got suspended 2 games for doing exactly what Crosby did.
But Marchand gets suspended and not Crosby.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a prediction on this because I don't think either team deserves to be in the playoffs.
I mean, they're both good enough to make it.
Yeah,
end.
Carlson and Anderson are the only exciting pieces really going on in Ottawa. Brassard had a terrible year. Yeah, they got Stone and Hoffman, but I don't even think they had particularly.
I think they were doing
well. Yeah, they were doing well, but they weren't putting up.
Okay year too.
Yeah, Kyle Turris was.
And the Bruins, Brad Marchand put them on his back and dragged them there.
And come playoffs, you can't rely on one player to pick you all up.
Especially when games get a little more antsy, a little more excited, and he slew-foots someone and gets suspended again.
And he's out an entire series.
Yeah.
Okay, well, who's winning it?
I'm going to go with Ottawa in 5.
Okay, I'm going Boston with this one. I don't know really reason why.
I have no reason why either. I have no reasoning as to why I'm choosing Ottawa. I'm just doing it.
Flip a coin.
I'm just going with I would rather see the Senators move on than Boston move on.
This is true. Okay.
All right. Now we get to move on to the Western Conference. First matchup I'm looking at, the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Nashville Predators. Another matchup I think can be a really good matchup for this series.
Yeah, this matchup has started to become kind of a rivalry, these two teams, because they met I think it was last year in the playoffs as well. And their matchups this year have been pretty gritty, pretty, a lot of heavy hitting, a lot of, little scrappy play. There's a real rivalry brewing here, and I'm really excited to see that matchup.
I think it's actually going to end up being probably the highest scoring series
I
of all of
agree
them.
with that, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of goals scored. Corey Crawford is an okay goalie, but the offense of the Predators is dirty, and the goaltending for Nashville sucks.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be 5-4, 6-5 games going on.
Probably, 5-3, things like that.
I still give the edge to the Blackhawks. I think they are the better team overall.
I'm going to go with an upset on the Predators here.
Okay.
I like their team. I think they finished lower than they should have. Just they couldn't get it going at first. I think they're a little better. I think they're a little deeper. I think this year they'll take down the Blackhawks. I think it's going to be a 6-game series. Predators win.
Either way.
Either way, yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the matchups that is still kind of a toss-up because the Blues could still end up facing the Blackhawks at this point.
Yeah, and I kind of don't want to see that matchup again. I want to see that energy matchup.
If we can see the Predators Blackhawks in a later round, that'd be a phenomenal series.
That would be true. But as of right now, that's how it's looking.
Yep.
That would be my prediction for it.
Hey, moving on, Keith.
Next matchup is the Minnesota Wild versus the St. Louis Blues.
This is going to be a pretty solid matchup, on paper.
Yeah,
it would
you have
seem.
a good offense versus a good defense.
Yeah, and good goaltending.
Yeah, on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, for the first while this year, Allen looked really shaky, but recently, minus the 2 games this week, that I'm in the finals of our fantasy league.
Dominating, and I was a little bit more down.
Yeah, he's kind of come really far back down to earth. But I think that's because he got used too much. I think he's more tired than anything else. But, once the playoffs hit, you kind of get an extra little boost going there. I'm going with the Wild.
Okay, I'm probably going to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I think they got a little bit more talent on the team.
A little more, especially up front. I think this year Bruce Boudreau is now coaching, so he brings more offensive style than they used to have in the past. I think their defense is strong enough to hold them together, and they chip in offensively a little bit too. Eric Stahl's having a great year out there. They're getting point productions from their guys. I think Minnesota takes them down.
Agreed. Okay, moving on.
Okay. Anaheim Ducks versus the Calgary Flames.
I will watch this series.
I will be very curious about this series. I think you're going to see games kind of almost blowouts, but they're going to go back and forth. It's going to be 5-1 Flames in the first game, and then 6-2 Ducks the second game. And I think it's just going to go back and forth.
And I think it will be a Game 7, a final score of 6-5.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening here. And it's not because I think the goaltending's bad. It's just the way that the teams are with their scoring. It's either they don't really score or they pile the goals in.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to actually pick a winner here, but
You pretty much have the experienced team versus the young power team.
but very hungry and very talented team. And I think it really is going to come down to the question mark of goaltending. Is Gibson back in time? I mean, he's been out for a while now.
Yeah, he has.
And is that going to cause them to be...
If he's back in time or comes back mid-series, I think they'll steal it after that.
Yeah. But if Bernier's your starting goalie for the Ducks, I'm not really too, set on him being anything reliable.
Yeah.
There also had the other week these two teams played, and it was kind of, dubbed a playoff preview, and it was a pretty feisty game.
It was.
There were a lot of penalty minutes, a lot of fights. It's going to be an interesting series. I'm going to go with the Ducks in 7.
I'll agree with you. Game 7 Ducks.
Yeah.
I think at the end of that Game 7, the experience will do it.
I think that's the only thing that puts them over, is that little bit more experience.
They're 4-1 on the season against them.
Yeah. And I think Calgary... It's going to be good for Calgary to get some experience against a really good, experienced playoff team.
This is a team, Calgary. They can lose this game, and come away with something.
Yeah.
Knowing that, okay, guys, we were this good. We got this close this season. No one expected it.
Yeah, and, we played the Ducks, who are a regular playoff team, it seems now.
Yeah.
They have their defense is really good.
We gave them a hell of a battle.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good learning experience for them. I think next year the Flames come back and they will progress past the first round.
Yep.
But I don't think quite yet this year.
Yep. Okay, moving on to, I think, the last...
Yep. The last matchup, which I think could be another fun matchup to watch. It's the San Jose Sharks versus the Edmonton Oilers.
This is a doozy of one here because it's like polar opposites kind of going head to head.
Yeah, and I have one of the teams winning in 4.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to say it's going to be a 5-game series. San Jose wins.
4-game series, San Jose embarrasses them.
Yeah. I don't think the defense is good enough in
No.
Edmonton in the playoffs to hold back San Jose. I think one game, the offense of the Oilers will be able to power them to a victory.
It will be the first game. They'll have all the confidence. Sharks come out this, if they would manage to win, Sharks would come out that second game, shut them down, take all confidence in the world away,
They just shatter
and
them.
just walk through them.
I think the defense is better, obviously, in San Jose's side by light years.
San Jose is at the point where their team's a lot older right now, so they're the hungrier team.
Yeah, because they have to win
Like,
now.
if they don't win now, they don't know if they can do it next year.
Yeah, I mean, the Edmonton Oilers, they have years and years and years to go.
Yeah, like they're gonna be the next Red Wing team,
Yeah, they're going to be
year
in the
after
playoffs
year after
for
year.
a long time. But unless, Connor McDavid gets hurt.
Yeah.
But they need to do more on their defense. Yeah, so I think that series, Sharks take it in 5.
I said 4.
Yeah, I've liked Edmonton's. They're fun. They're a fun team to watch, but being a fun team to watch does not mean
You're gonna win.
you're
games.
going to win in the playoffs.
The Rangers have been a fun team to watch for years.
Yeah, but their defense is horrendous. So they don't, they get, deep enough into the playoffs, but they never win it all.
You know what's gonna happen? Rangers are gonna make it deep. Game 7, overtime. Brendan Smith goal, game-winning goal. And you're gonna be like, worth it.
I'd be like, did my eyes just deceive me, or did Brendan Smith just score a goal?
The only thing he does the entire playoffs is score that one game-winning goal. He was worth the trade.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you win Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals...
I didn't say Stanley Cup.
Oh, you
Finals.
just mean in the
I'm
first
pretty
round.
sure he wouldn't be on the ice at that point.
Someone got a little too excited there.
You never know. This is the Rangers. Strange things do happen.
Okay, so has your opinion changed on who you think's going to win?
Now that
Go
we
to the
see
Stanley
these
Cup?
are
Yeah.
the teams pretty much. I still like the Capitals, but the thing is, they did win the President's Trophy, which means they're not going to win. But
Let me leave it like this for you. Which team from each division do you think is going to make it? And also, which one would you want to see? What is your Stanley Cup matchup? If you could just choose 2 teams, no matter what the outcome, you want to see them in the Cup. Would it be different at all?
you mean like Eastern, Western, like pick
Yeah.
a team from each division? I would love. I mean, I'm not going to pick the Rangers just because that'd be too, obvious and biased. I would love to see the Capitals playing against San Jose.
You're right on board right there with me, too.
Yeah, I just think that would be a real fun matchup to watch. Burns versus Shattenkirk. You got Logan Couture and Joe Pavelski and all those guys against guys like Ovechkin, Oshie.
Yeah.
It would just be a fun series to watch. Holtby versus Martin Jones. It would be fun to see that series unfold. I still think the Capitals would win a matchup in that.
Yeah, I think the Capitals are still the favorites. Even though they won the President's Trophy, it's known you can't win a cup if you win the President's.
Yeah.
They have the team that they can do it with.
Yeah. They have great goaltending with Holtby.
Yeah,
they have a really good defense, and their offense, they've been getting production from all 4 lines.
Yeah, I think the conference final will probably be them versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think
Actually, I don't know
Move on.
about that conference final. I think Pittsburgh's going to get so worn down after the first round. They're making a second round exit against whoever it is they play.
Boston.
They're making.
Might be changed.
But that's the thing though. Is Boston? I feel like it would be a better matchup in a second round against them because they play physical too.
Exactly.
And after Pittsburgh's already worn down to hell, they're just going to come in and beat them up again.
Yeah.
I think if that is the matchup in round 2, Boston will beat Pittsburgh.
I think if Pittsburgh played another team besides Columbus in that first round,
They would be in the
would
finals.
be the favorite.
If they
Yes.
played the Rangers, Pittsburgh wins. If they played, Ottawa, Pittsburgh wins.
Yeah. Pittsburgh got the worst possible matchup that I think they could get.
Yeah, I'm so happy the Rangers don't have that matchup. I don't even if it was the Capitals, I would not want to play the Blue Jackets had they fallen, further down in the standings. I don't want to play the Blue Jackets to start my playoff series because you're going to be worn down and beat to hell.
Yeah. For the West, we both agreed that it's the Sharks. Do you think they are the favorite in that division?
I think, they would kind of have to be.
Okay. Who do you think they're going to end up facing next conference final?
I'm going to go with it's going to be San Jose versus the Ducks.
Okay, I can see that. I was going to go with the Wild.
That was kind of the other team I was looking at. I was like,
Yeah.
that's going to be another. If it would happen, in the next series, that would be an interesting matchup. The Ducks versus the Wild. But I think the Ducks will make it to the conference finals.
Okay, for me, it's the Ducks versus the Wild in the conference finals.
You mean San Jose?
No, I want to see San Jose in the Cup, but I don't think they're going to make it that far.
Oh, okay. You don't think they're going to
No,
go all the way?
I think they're going to make it through the first round, walk over them, and be over-rested.
That could also happen, but it remains to be seen. But it's going to be a fun
Yep.
playoff year this year because I like that we actually have some new teams back in
You
the
got
playoffs. You got 3 Canadian teams.
You have
Four-
three
no, four,
super
sorry.
young teams.
5 Canadian teams. We had none last year. We have 5 this year. You got Calgary, Edmonton, Maple Leafs, Canadian Senators.
Yeah. I think what makes this a super exciting playoffs is the Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton.
Yeah, the teams that have been on the rebuild for some time now, they're all making it at once here.
Yep.
And they all have an exciting team to watch. They're fun.
They are.
They're fast, they're young, they fly all over the place, and they score some pretty goals. But then you're going to run into the veteran teams that are just going to be like, not yet young Padawan.
This is true. But if they both surprise, Toronto, Edmonton, Stanley Cup would be terrible, but extremely fun to watch.
I think one of those teams is going to surprise someone.
Yeah.
But it's like I feel like they could, I should say.
They both have
surprise
terrible
someone, but they
matchups.
have such bad matchups. Capitals, Sharks, Ducks. Like if it was, even the Blackhawks, the Wild, the Predators, or the Blues, any of those 4 teams, I could see, one of the, Edmonton or Calgary upsetting them.
And for Toronto, Columbus, I think would still be one of the teams that would beat them. But I think they could beat Pittsburgh. They could beat Boston and Ottawa easily.
Yeah.
Rangers and Canadians.
Yeah, I think they could definitely beat them. Senators, they could beat. I don't know. The Blue Jackets, I feel like they might be able to beat because they're so fast.
Yeah.
And the Blue Jackets don't really have that speed game. They just crush you.
But that's the thing. If they can crush them,
Yeah,
they're not
that
going to be
hurts.
able to use that speed.
That's true, but it would, they would have to play their game perfectly.
They have. Toronto wants to win. They have to play their game, not play the game your opponent wants you to play.
Yeah, they have to keep their feet moving, and get the pucks in, get them out front, and just get set up.
Who do you think's going to be the surprise player of the playoffs? Like a regular name, like a Kane, or like a Crosby, or do you think someone might come up and surprise?
I don't think it would be much of a surprise, but I think Connor McDavid's going to be putting up points.
Okay.
But I think he's going to, have a really good go of it in his first playoff. I'm curious to see how Wenberg does in Columbus.
He's been a little slow
A little
late in the
slow
regular
late.
season.
But he came on hot at first in the regular season. Is he going to do the same here?
and this is without a guy. This isn't a guy who even shoots the puck. You're in playoff mode. He might put the puck on net a few more times.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see. And Philip Forsberg, I think, for Nashville.
Yeah.
I would keep an eye on him, too.
Brad Marchand, I guess we have to say him.
Because if he doesn't score, they're
getting
done.
swept.
Yeah, they're swept. That's the end of it.
Well, I think that just about wraps us up for this episode.
Yeah, I think that's a good playoff preview.
Tune in next week. First few games should be played by then?
Or
just
should
the
be
regular
just
season
about
just
to
ending?
start. Yeah,
Okay.
I think we got 3 days. No, we have 3 days left, and then playoffs. And that's the end of the season.
Okay.
3 days from tonight, season's over, and then playoffs will start. So we might actually have a game or two under our belt by next week.
We'll probably be watching one while we're doing this.
Yeah, probably. So if you hear us next week going, "Oh," that's someone scored or someone died. All right, thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.